Alrighty, and we are rocking and rolling. We got the man, the myth, and the legend Q with us today, Quincy. Uh,
What's up?
what's going on, my friend? Good seeing you.
Likewise, just chilling. Really, we just got back from the store, and then just kind of hanging out. I got a job interview today, and then
So you actually, those folks may know Amy Lacy, who's with us on Veterans Network and some of the shows that we do. You are her oldest, and it's interesting to have a conversation, as you see in the title, growing up, in the military environment from an 18-year-old story. So let's take it back to just growing up, seeing your mom in service and what that meant to you, what that felt like, and all that. Talk to me about what your initial perceptions were of the service, just, as a kid, not knowing the details. Like now you know more because you're older, but take me back to when you're young and it's just like your mom is doing this and all the things that, were new to you.
as a kid. So when my mom was enlisted, I was a little younger. I was like in elementary school still. Um, but the main things I remember is like I can remember opening with her. So I didn't understand what the military was at the time. I just thought it was a normal job and whatever. But I remember opening in the base. I remember I was a little probably confused about, okay, why are we having to get through a gate with security guards and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I didn't really understand it until I was older, like in high school or middle school probably. Excuse me. And yeah, I remember opening and getting up early,
Mm-hmm.
early getting up. But other than that, I don't remember that much.
So, what did it mean to you just knowing that your mom was in service? Just as a kid growing up, you see military movies, you see
Yeah.
whatever those things were, not knowing the details of what it was. You just know that's what mom does, and it looks like this stuff here on TV. Growing up, what did that kind of mean to you? You knowing that your mom would have to get up and not only be a mom and juggle life and all the things that she had to go through, but just having to put on the uniform and do all that. What was that impression for you growing up?
Yeah, well, the movies are a little different than what's actually going on, especially with my mom being in the dental field. So I thought, she was saving the world and stuff. Really, she was just cleaning people's teeth for the most part.
One cavity at a time.
Yeah, she was in the Air Force, so they don't do too much of the dirty work. But I thought she was at the time. But that's
Hmm.
why I said I didn't really understand, and uh, it wasn't confusing, but it was like, well, aren't you supposed to be shooting people?
Right.
Like,
Well, she
supposed
was
to
shooting
be.
him right like that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
So what's one of the earliest memories you have of service with your mom that you can remember? Like one of like the original, like we think back, you know how it is, right? You've been around, you've seen your mom kind of grow, you've grown rather. She did her service, left service, and all that stuff. But when you think back, what's like that one memory that sticks out to you of your mom in service and in uniform?
Um, Probably a lot of moving. Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know. There's like, when I think about it, when her actually being in uniform, um, the biggest one that pops up if I think about my mom in a uniform is when she would wake me up, or when we would just be walking around the clinic.
So how was that moving from place to place and having to kind of relearn, revisit new people, and all that stuff? How was that for you? Is the first question.
So for me, it wasn't too difficult. For some people, depending on your personality, if you're an introvert and an extrovert, it's easier or harder. For me, I kind of like I'm like a class clown, so
Hmm.
people kind of gravitate towards me with my energy. So for me, it wasn't super hard. It was a little confusing sometimes. I'm moving, from this small place to this big place, and then well, now we're back at a small place. So kind of figuring out like social life is different. Social life between each spot is completely different. So that was probably the hardest part for me, is like it takes a little bit to adapt, but it wasn't super hard on me. Um, I know now that I'm older, I have the same friends I've had for what, about 6 years. So now I definitely wouldn't want to move. But before it was so like uh, I couldn't really get attached to
Hmm.
people or anything. So
How did that I guess build or add or take away from your relationship with your mom, which now becomes kind of like the the steady thing through that move, right? So as your mom is moving around, that's almost like the one thing that isn't changing, right? You're all moving
exactly.
together, but it's your unit, right? It's just you guys. How was that as far as building that relationship with your mom?
No, that actually definitely strengthened our relationship because, like you said, that's the only like stable relationship you have that's consistent, and I don't have to worry about moving away from my mom. So
Yeah.
I'm moving with her, and we're so as I go through, we're all kind of going through it together.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that it's negative, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like the whole experience of moving and stuff.
Yeah. Were looking at that experience and all the things that you had to deal with, were there any things that you would say that you, I don't know, picked up? And you kind of alluded to it by your personality and how you are. Obviously, all that stuff factored into your upbringing, who you are. But did anything, I guess, that you experienced moving around, seeing your mom in service, like all that stuff, what would you be able to point out specific things? It's like, I'm this way because of that. Like, are there certain traits that you would say that you have today that kind of came from either things you saw your mom go through, or things she taught you, or things you experienced having to kind of just see her service and be moving around?
Yeah, I think from moving around and stuff, it definitely takes me a little bit to form a relationship with someone for like I don't know if it's necessarily a fear, but like the fear of getting attached and then it just being taken away. Like,
Mm-hmm.
well, you know what? Well, now that she's retired, but um, like before, like, well, all right, Quincy, next week we gotta go. I don't know, wherever,
Mm-hmm.
Texas, wherever it may be. So as far as forming relationships, it takes me a while to get form a close like friendship with someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like other than that, I don't know. I'd have to spend time to really think about it. But
Mm-hmm.
off the
Off
top of
the
the dome,
dome.
that's definitely yeah, that's definitely the one I would say.
Yeah, and I think to a degree that's it's a preservation type of mechanism, to
Hmm.
guard yourself because you don't want to let people in, obviously, that that may not merit that and all that stuff. So, um, granted, your mom, those that have seen it, if you haven't, shameless plug, go see Amy having MRE, which is by far the classic highlight of our time
Right?
together.
Yeah, that
um,
was definitely an interesting one. Cause I was even there. I was there live,
mm-hmm. So
so
how
I
so
got to
how
see
was
it.
how was that having to see your mom go through that whole process of eating an MRE?
Man, look, she was in the Air Force, so she didn't have to deal with that. But it's always good to know what your peers and whatever had to do, because
Mm-hmm.
you were sitting there slurping that like it was a five-star meal.
Man, look,
It
it was
was
like
like,
bon
ooh, that's a good.
appetit.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, we got the what was I'm trying to think what it was. I don't know if it was like a dessert or a chocolate milk, and you mix it with the water, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, give me this.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll give it to you, but I don't want to take it. I'll stick with my Fairlife.
What would you say to someone out there who may be going through this process and may not have the skills yet to adapt to change? Like, you don't get it, Quincy. I've had to, relocate how many times, different classes, new friends, can't build relationships. What would be some advice that you would give someone who may be struggling in that department, who may be watching this?
Excuse me. The biggest advice I would give to someone, I would probably say, just be yourself. And every let's say they're my age or a little younger, every school has their different groups, which is just how it is nowadays. It's these people and these people and the skaters and the sport athletes and the nerds and the nerds. But and you really have to be yourself because you want to meet people that can help you grow. So if you are someone who, if you're a mathlete, you don't want to hang out with the athletes because how are they gonna help you? Besides, they might use you like for doing their math homework. So you definitely want to be yourself. And like, if you struggle meeting new people, um, it's hard for me to speak on that because I've never been. Like I said, people, my energy, I'm just a clown. Like, so, but I would just say, like, sometimes you just gotta jump off the bridge. Okay, well, not literally, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But I
you
think
got
you kind of subconsciously are alluding to some of that, right? Which is, it's not so much I would say that you're the clown of it all. I think it's just you've understood or come to a place of understanding. You just can't take things too serious. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's just the
exactly.
reality, right? Like you don't take things to heart. Change is going to happen. At the end of the day, after the third and fourth relocation, you didn't die, right? The
Yeah,
world continued. You made new friends, and you kind of start to adapt to the fact that you know what? Look, either people are going to laugh at you, which they're going to do anyway, or you can laugh at
yeah,
yourself and not take it too serious. Which goes back to the whole energy concept, like you said, where you just kind of see and embrace the world a little bit different. Which I think for some people, right, is something they may not have, right? How do they even do stuff like that, right? And I think to your point, I would break it down even more to say, you have the ability to not take yourself too serious, which takes away that pressure, right? So you're not having to sit there like, oh
yeah,
my goodness, what are they going to say about me? It's new school. It's just like, oh, well, I'm
yeah,
here, right?
yeah. And you really have to be that way, especially moving so much. You're gonna be around so many new people and so many different schools. You really can't worry about, well, what if Johnny doesn't like me over there? What if Sarah
Mm-hmm.
is like, she thinks I'm, you know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You really just have to, you just got to roll with it. And I think
Yeah.
the more that people move, the more they learn about themselves and how they communicate with people. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the biggest part, is really like communication. And like if you so I'm a big energy person myself. So if I pay attention to everyone, I feel negative energy, positive energy, whatever. So like, let's say there's a group activity in school and there's someone that you've talked to a couple times, but whatever, you're not friends then, but you just had like, hey, how's your day? Maybe, hey, you want to be in a group? We can do this, or can I join your group? And by doing that, you are gonna form relationships, because you're gonna meet this person, and then you're gonna start sitting with them at lunch, and then you're gonna meet
Mm-hmm.
their friends, and then you're gonna. So I think the biggest part is, like I said, you just gotta. Yeah, it's like it's hard, but you really just have to
Mm-hmm.
like jump off
Yeah.
and take a risk,
What's
because no one's really gonna be like, no, you can't be in our group,
exactly?
like, so.
Yeah, I think the perspective is key, and even you being able to understand that, you have some grown folks that can't even get that. You know what I mean? So obviously, you've had to kind of advance and grow quicker than others because of life and the way your family setup is and moving around and all these different things. What would you say is one thing that you are grateful that your mom taught you, overall, whether it's military related or not, that you can say it's something that maybe a few years ago didn't make some sense, but now that you're older and you're, moving into adult world, it's kind of like, well, it didn't make sense then, but now I kind of see, that benefit of whatever that may be, whether it's an example, whether it's a teaching or an advice, like what's that thing that you would say, or a few thing. Some people have many, but it will be, like I said, like a top one or two things that your mom has instilled or taught you or stressed to you that now you kind of really see the value of it that maybe you didn't see before?
Well, okay, so let's go backwards. We'll do one and two. So two, let's start with two. It'll be like, it's like you said, like, don't take stuff too seriously. Like, I'm a joking person. I'm not someone who's like overly concerned with how people look at me and what they think about me. So that's number two. Number one is probably gonna be integrity, because she's someone who's big on integrity, and that's something I struggled with as I was younger, and then throughout the years I've gotten better and better. But I think that's the biggest one, because I believe in karma, and I believe that the energy you put out into the world, you're gonna get back. So I'd have to say integrity number one,
Mm-hmm.
just because it's always good to just look, even though it might be easier to, you know, not tell the neighbor your dog went to the bathroom in their yard. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, yeah, do you mind, like, my dog went in here, let me just grab a bag real quick, I can just clean it up real quick.
So we're clear that the army is the way that your heartstring pulls to. I can't hold it against you. You know what I mean?
Or you know, maybe the Marines, the SEALs, like something like that. It's like
Mm-hmm.
boots on the ground, special ops, something like
Yeah.
that. But she didn't like. She's like, no, you're not doing that. I'm whatever. So we're trying to find other ways. But if I have to, I might sign that contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you know, the Army's a good place to be, so, you know, the Air Force is not for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Like I knew. It's like I said. That's what I would want to be if I was in
Yeah.
the military. So.
And what would that mean to you now? You know, looking at it, you know, all branch aside, like, you know, again, you saw your mom in service, but what does it mean to you? Let's say if you do decide to go into that, what is it that you're looking to get? I guess from that, like, what does service mean to you? Again, being a dependent, seeing your mom in service, regardless of branch, and then now potentially, if you should go down that path, or you would, or choose to do it, what does it mean to you, right? Like from your perspective.
I think it's just like the fact that I'm helping people that I know and don't know. Like, excuse me, everyone helps people. Like in the military, you're helping people. So no matter what your job is, even if you're doing demo and just cleaning teeth and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, like you're still helping people, even though it might not be, boots
Mm-hmm.
on the ground, whatever. But I think like it's like any given day you can save a life kind of type
Yeah.
thing. So that's something that I would definitely. I think that's what would like appeal to me about it.
What would you?